Hello again. My name is Peter Dickinson, and this is part two of a five-part tutorial on how we can reduce and overcome anger and improve our relationships with people. I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist, just someone who was born and brought up into anger, and I'm speaking about my own experiences and my personal coping mechanisms. If you believe you have issues that are beyond the scope of this video, then I strongly recommend you contact your healthcare professional. My father was a steel worker, and he liked to explain his way of thinking by using his fists. We were all taught to fight to survive, and now I realize that that becomes a dead weight that now needs lifting and dropping. I also realize that my father didn't know any better because of how he was raised. In this second episode of 5, I will explain how all of us humans become addicted to anger. I hope that by speaking openly about myself, you'll be able to apply the knowledge that we're talking about here that you pick up and apply that to other aspects of anger that arise in your life. I'll explain what happens to our brains when we become angry, how to stop it getting out of control, and how to finally eliminate anger. Often, anger is triggered by an external event, usually where we have a feeling that we've been slighted by someone. It can be as insignificant as someone leaving dirty dishes in the sink. Then we assess that trigger and deliver a judgment to ourselves on the severity of that slight. Now, we all judge things differently, depending on a number of factors. Some people are naturally more prone to anger than others due to their temperament and coping mechanisms. In my case, traumatic experiences and exposure to anger in my childhood has made me more sensitive, I think, to triggering situations. Another key point here is that mental health can also play a big part here. Conditions like anxiety or depression can exacerbate anger and make it harder to manage. And this is significant since the global pandemic has had a massive impact on the mental health of humanity in general, which means more people are finding it harder to control their emotions. And I hope to help alleviate some of that over this set of video tutorials. Now, onto the chemical factory that we all have in our brains. The human brain is brilliant. It's a masterpiece of engineering. It provides us with everything we need to function, as well as well adapted to be a well-adapted member of our society, our community, our neighborhood, and family group. On the other hand, it creates tensions within us that cause us distress. When we're angry, we create neuropeptide hormones in the brain that provide a stress response. This then leads to feelings of anxiety and/or depression, which ultimately leads to aggression. The basis of aggressive behavior is to inflict harm. In daily life, that doesn't necessarily mean physical harm. It can be displayed in bursts of shouting and verbal abuse. And this is where, in my opinion, the brain no longer serves us properly. Because once this process starts, the brain seems to say, okay, my friend, I understand the situation. I've got you covered. You want to be angry because you've been wronged? There you go. I've just produced a shed load of neuropeptide hormones to help you keep stoking that anger. Then, as we're in this state of angry outburst, whatever it is we're saying is causing us to be even more angry. And it's possibly as we're reminded of more and more perceived slights against us. This triggers the brain to produce even more neuropeptide hormones, and the cycle starts to feed on itself. And it propels more and more anger. Eventually, we'll become swamped with emotion, very angry, and going nowhere. So, how can we self-help? We need to recognize this destructive path before it builds into this crescendo. Breathing exercises are the easiest thing to use, and I want to repeat the following exercise with you that I explained in video 1 of this series. As soon as we realize that we're losing control, we need to stop speaking and take time to breathe. let's just do that exercise together now again. It'll be a 3-second inhale, pause, 3-second out, exhale, repeated 3 times. Okay, together now, breathe in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3, and then in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3, and finally in, 2, 3, and out, 2, 3. By switching our focus from our brain into our breathing, we start to release the anger before it takes hold. And at this point, we should excuse ourselves and take ourselves away from wherever we are, find somewhere to sit or walk alone for at least 20 minutes. Now, what makes this even worse is that this behavior is addictive. Angry people seem to need the regular fix of the anger neuropeptide hormones. And a typical scenario goes like this. I come home and everything's perfectly in order in the home. Dinner's cooking, house is clean, everything's in its place. My day's gone okay. Everything's gone smoothly. Work colleagues have been friendly. I met some nice clients. But now I've entered my familiar environment where I can be myself, which means I can revert to type. This is the familiar environment where I usually get angry about something, but there's nothing for me to be angry about. So it doesn't take us, people who are quick to anger, very long to find something to pick on and argue over. And it can be something incredibly simple and innocent, like being asked if we've managed to pay the electricity bill today. And then we choose to perceive this question as challenging our capability, challenging our manhood. This has been repeated all over the world in various different environments. Perhaps it's our ego. Perhaps it's our sense of worth. We just crave those anger neuropeptide hormones, and we want to get very cross so we can have them coursing through our veins once more. We perceive a slight or feel there's been an injustice against us, and we want to go down the route we feel most comfortable traveling. We become sullen or mean or impatient or frustrated or sarcastic, all different levels of anger. Then, by going down that route, our brains think they're helping us by providing more of what we're craving. Again, we can break out of this cycle with breathing exercises. But as before, we need to listen for the signs and stop the destructive chain of thought before we become swamped. The perfect outcome is to stop the feeling from building and also to let go of the anger. Otherwise, it's just another suppressed feeling, and we all have lots of those. So what I do is I think, why does this make me angry? And then I can hopefully work out where it might have started and let the feeling go. Accept it, and then lovingly say goodbye to it, acknowledging that the feeling no longer serves us. That's what we need to realize. These feelings that are created from our anger were forged on our journey through life, but they're no longer needed in our current life stage. So let them go. Remember, we can catch ourselves before our angry emotions run away with us and take a few seconds to stop and breathe. We're just one breath away from reducing our anger. That will result in better personal relationships and better health. There are 4 other videos in this series, so make sure you get to see them as well. This piece was inspired by David Hawkins in his book Letting Go. I'm Peter Dickinson, born and raised in anger. Not proud of that, but getting better every day. See you next time.